Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Matt Bernier, the DRFBets race of the day for Wednesday, July the 17th is the traditional opening day feature at Del Mar. It's a special day for horse players and racing fans everywhere. Opening day at Del Mar, the Oceanside, a mile on the turf, a restricted stakes for 3-year-olds. Get involved on opening day at Del Mar with a DRFBets account. Sign up and learn how to access $150 in risk-free wagers. Let's meet the field for this year's edition of the Oceanside. You can access free formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. Download them, handicap along with us. Matt and I will take this field in post-position order, beginning with the number 1 Manhattan Up. And Matt, Manhattan Up's turf debut didn't exactly go as planned, showed speed, then was pulled up, then was walked off. But if you look at the subsequent dirt starts, he's faced some pretty good company in Mucho Gusto and Roadster, and he might be a sleeper in this spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And you throw in horses as well, like Kingly and Extra Hope, who were nice early 3-year-olds. Like you said, the class is there on the main track. The question now is, how is it going to transition back over to the grass? You brought up that Eddie Logan. You can't draw any sort of definitive feelings out of that race based on what happened. I have no idea if the turf is going to be to his liking. I think he's a horse that has the ability to be a little bit closer to the pace than maybe he has been in some of these dirt tries, just simply because I think he's going to be able to run a little bit quicker early. I don't know that I love him from a betting proposition, but I will be curious to see what he does because I think he's a decent horse.
Turf might be a question for his next door neighbor as well. That's the number 2, Roger. That sounds kind of odd because it's a British pedigree, but this colt did his best running overseas on a synthetic surface. I guess you can forgive his North American debut off a 6-month layoff, just running against some sharp sprinters. Blinkers on, maybe this horse shows a little bit of stretch out speed. He's got to prove it to me on the turf at a big price.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, the 2 big runs for him overseas came on synthetic. So like you say, who knows about the turf surface overall? Stretching out in distance, maybe he's a little bit forwardly placed with the equipment change. But based on what he has done overseas and here in that lone stateside debut, not for me.
I believe that the 3 Jasican deserves to be the favorite. He is the morning line favorite at 9-5. His last race was an excellent performance. He did not break well at all. He was basically last in a race where there wasn't a ton of pace. He came 5 wide through the turn into the stretch, and he just won in very professional fashion. If you're going to bet Jasican, and I'm seriously considering betting Jasican, if he drifts up in price in this big field, you have to be ready that he's going to break slow again. Because that's just what he does. When the gates open, he stands there.
Yeah, I mean, in all 4 of his lifetime starts, he's been tardy out of the gate, and that's including the 2 starts over in Europe. So you're already going to be spotting the field a little bit, kind of starting behind the 8 ball. But you brought up that N1X most recently. If he comes with a run like that, where he's about 6 wide coming off the far turn, and to be honest, I never really thought he was a loser at any point. Maybe it took him a moment or 2 to go by everyone, but he looked very visually impressive doing so. The question for me with this horse boils down to, 1, you brought up the braking situation early on, but more importantly for me, the price, because I don't think there are any standouts in this field. I think it's a pretty evenly matched group, and I don't know that I'm in a rush to take 8-5 or 7-5. He's 9-5 on the line. If he floated up in that 2-1, 5-2 range, I think I could say that's a fair price. I don't know that I want him any shorter than that.
It's a fair point because in his last race, he had to go around 6 others. And in here, in a bigger field, he's going to have to weave his way through or around 8 others. Instead of going 5 wide, he might be 8 wide. And that might be all the difference at a relatively short price. A horse that probably isn't going to have to worry too much about going wide is the number 4, Legends of War, as we see from our Timeform US pace projector. Legends of War stretching out is expected to make the lead. His most recent start, the Desert Code, was a good turf sprint behind Listing, who came back to win the quick call at Saratoga with an 83 Beyer speed figure. I still have slight concerns, though, about whether a mile is this horse's best game. To me, he's the quintessential future down the turf kind of horse.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I mean, the only time that he has gone long was that run 2 starts back, and he faded. He felt the effects of it, and that was with a relatively soft interior fraction to go with his side. So I don't know how far he ultimately wants to go. Look, you brought up Listing, the horse that he ran second to last time. I think Listing ran quite well up at Saratoga last week, but it's still an instance where at this distance, given that there's some other speed in here, I don't know that this added ground is going to help him.
Matt, is the number 5 King of Speed an example of a horse that just hasn't gone on as a 3-year-old? I liked some of the things he did at 2, especially that Zuma Beach at this mile distance. Now, maybe the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf and the Losail Futurity and the El Camino Real Derby, those were spots that just wiped the confidence right out of King of Speed. But last time out in the cinema, I know it was a big price. He ran well, but he had everything his own way on the lead.
Yeah, and with those fractions, you take a look, Timeform US had all of them color-coded blue, meaning he had the run of the race, and he still wasn't able to get it done. Now, keep in mind, that was at 9 furlongs, and I do wonder, I know you have AP Indy on the bottom, but I maintain Jimmy Creed, I don't like him as the distances get longer as a sire, like him at sort of these shorter middle distance races. So perhaps getting back to a flat mile will help, but I look at that run 2 starts back in the Singletary. Sure, he ran fine there, but coming out of that race, I don't think he's the best horse. He's one of those that, you know what, at a middling price, I don't want him.
He does have some backability. He does have a formulator fact for trainer Jeff Bondy. Over the past 5 years, 3-year-old turf horses making their 3rd start following a layoff line, 30% winners and a $4.44 ROI. City Rage went gate to wire at a big price for a good trainer in Mark Glatt, when a maiden winner at Santa Anita last time out. It's worth noting that Parsimony, the 3rd place finisher, came back to run second, a well-beaten second, behind champion game winner on dirt in the Los Alamitos Derby. So he beat a good horse that day, but he's another one, just had a nice, easy time of it on the lead, and he's got speed to his inside in here.
Yeah, and that's the thing, the key for me, where, you know, okay, he got out there, he dictated things on the front end, he got the job done professionally. I don't think it's going to come so easy this time around. And to date, he hasn't shown the ability to sit and be effective coming from off the pace. So what's Drayton Van Dyke going to do? Are you going to really push hard early on, push the pace, have things heat up a little bit? And I don't know that that necessarily works to his advantage, because then you put the speeds away, you got to deal with the closers. Or are you going to try to find out for the first time in a stakes race whether or not he can actually sit off the pace and still be effective?
The 7 More Ice might have been slightly compromised in that cinema last time out, as King of Speed dictated a very slow pace, but it's not like More Ice was trying to come from 30 out of it. He was basically in the pocket saving ground behind and just didn't have any pop in the stretch. I liked his races on synthetic, the Cal Derby, the El Camino Real Derby. If the pace is hot, maybe this horse can come along for a piece.
I was going to say maybe he can come along, get a little nibble here. It's worth noting that he's 2 for 3 at Del Mar on the grass. It's one of those things. Del Mar can be a little bit of a horse for course kind of turf wrangle. But you brought up sort of the thing for me that sticks out. To me, far and away, the 2 best races of his life both came on synthetic. And I do wonder if he's one of those horses that is just better suited on that surface.
There are things to like about the 8 Gregorian Chant. He's lightly raced. He's got a ton of upside. He goes out for a great trainer in Phil D'Amato. And they tried blinkers last time out, despite him winning his North American debut without the eyewear. And it just didn't work out for him that day. That was in the cinema where there was no pace for him to attack. I thought his North American debut was solid. The blinkers come off. And 7-2 is a very fair price on this horse.
You know, you can understand why the blinkers went on. It's early in his career. You want to see if he can stay a little bit closer to the front as opposed to coming from way out of it. But I think you get to a certain point, and I know it's only 3 starts, but you got to call a spade and say he is what he is. He's probably a closer, going to be coming from out of it. You have to hope that you're going to get some pace in front of him. He hasn't had pace in either of his first 2 starts here in the States, and I think he ran fine in both of them. I'd expect a good run here. You're right, 7-2 seems fair. I could see him vying for favoritism when it's all said and done, though.
Like a couple of these, the King of Speeds, the More Ice. I feel the same way about the 9 Riheka. Did some good work at 2. I liked his race in the Cecil B. DeMille when behind the very talented Flying Scotsman. He ran well in the Eddie Logan. As a first-time gelding, he won 2 starts back. And I guess he did have a little trouble last time out in the Singletary, but I'm waiting to see that improvement. And he just hasn't come close to his races as a 2-year-old, although he does like Del Mar.
Yeah, and again, that's the kind of angle I think. I don't like the form this horse is in, but if you're looking for a big number underneath, maybe you do hang your hat on the idea that he's run really well at Del Mar in 3 lifetime starts. He has a victory and a runner-up finish, but I'm with you. He hasn't taken that necessary step forward from 2 to 3 at this point.
10 Nolde began his career on dirt behind the aforementioned Kingley for Baffert. He ran into Omaha Beach in start number 3, and he was saying, John Sheriffs, you're killing me. Get me onto the turf. And Sheriffs listened. He got him onto the turf. He's been unstoppable in 2 starts. And what I like about both of those races are he showed tactical speed in a race without much pace, and he still powered home. I think he will be adaptable to any kind of a pace situation. And you see a horse that's 2 for 2 on turf that's this lightly raced at this price, 8-1 in the morning line. I think you got to at least stand up and pay attention.
I think there's a lot to like here about this horse. I've liked both of his turf starts. You brought it up. The dirt track for races, for some reason, they just didn't work out. You get him over to the grass. Perfect 2 for 2. Nobody's come out of that most recent run, but the run 2 starts back has been relatively productive. 5th place and 6th place finishers, next out winners with mid to high 80 Beyer speed figures. I just liked kind of what you had laid out. There wasn't a lot of speed in either of those races. He was still able to overcome that and be successful. He's going to be one of those interesting horses in this race, though, if you're handicapping it, saying, you know what, you either look at it one of two ways. It's difficult to earn a fast figure in races without pace, or you look at it and say, simply put, he's not as fast as some of the other horses. It's up to you as the handicapper.
I think it's too early to tell, especially since he's so lightly raced. And you mentioned, that's a very good point. It's tough to earn a fast figure in a slow-paced race. Golden Birthday is the 11, and kind of like the 10 Knoll Day, you switched him to turf, the light bulb went on. He's not perfect, but he's close from 2 starts on the turf. His outside post worries me a little bit, but I think Joe Talamo's just going to simply have a plan. He's going to grab a hold coming out of the gate. He's going to try to save as much ground near the back of the pack and hope to come with one big run. I'm just concerned that he's not the best closer in the race.
Yeah, that's always a dangerous proposition. A horse coming from out of it that may not have the best kick at the end. He's also stepping up in class, not just going from the N1X ranks, but going from Calbred ranks into the open company. Or I say open company, it's restricted, but you get what I'm saying. Stakes caliber runners. The 6th place finisher came back and earned a 75 on dirt in the next start. Again, I'm kind of with you. This is the horse for me, better used underneath if at all.
Synthesis completes this field. He is listed as a first-time gelding. No match for Mucho Gusto last time out on dirt. He was bet down to 2-1 against Gregorian Chant in his one and only turf start. He was far from disgraced that day, but he's another one. Took the worst of it from the post-position draw.
I think you have to hope that the gelding process wakes him up in a big, big way. I haven't seen any sort of giant improvement from 2 to 3 through 12 lifetime starts, one time a winner. He's not for me.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Oceanside Stakes, the feature race on opening day at beautiful Del Mar. You're going for a price, Matt. You like the 10 Knoll Day. Give me numbers.
Yeah, I earmarked him coming out of that N1X, and there was talk going into it that Sheriffs, this might be the goal. They bring him here along. I like quite a bit. I like this horse quite a bit. He's 8-1. I went 10, 3, 8, and 4.
I'm going to gamble that Jessican is going to drift up a little bit in price and that the D'Amato runner Gregorian Chant takes a little bit of money. Flavian Pratt, the new rider of Jessican, has to be aware. He's got to be ready for the start because this horse can break badly. But I've just been very impressed with the turn of foot he showed in his most recent start. 3, 6, 8, 11 for me in the Oceanside. It is the feature race at Del Mar on opening day. Get involved with the DRFBets account. $150 in risk-free wagers just waiting for you. Sign up at bets.drf.com. Approximate post time for the Oceanside, 5:30 Pacific. Good luck.